They found 3 pints of my blood in the East Wing this morning. The problem? I'm still alive. All of it. Still inside me. My name is Alex Chen. I'm 28 years old. 3 weeks ago, I took a night security job at St. Mercy Hospital. The building's been empty since 2009, or that's what they told me. On my 3rd shift, I found a surgical gurney in a corridor that's been sealed for 15 years. There was blood on it. Fresh blood. Still wet. I touched it. I know, stupid. And it was warm. I documented everything that happened after that. Every single thing. I have recordings, photographs, security footage that shouldn't exist. I wish I'd just walked away. Because what I found in that hospital, what found me, it's still watching. Still recording. And I need you to understand something before I tell you the rest. They document us too. This is what happened on November 2024. My 3rd night at St. Mercy Hospital. The night everything changed. St. Mercy Hospital closed in 2009. Officially, the records say administrative issues. That's corporate language for, we're not telling you what really happened here. I didn't ask too many questions when they hired me. I needed the job. After 6 years as an EMT, I'd burned out. Completely. You see enough people die on your watch, and eventually you stop sleeping. Stop eating right. Start wondering if you're actually helping anyone or just watching. So when I saw the listing, night security solo shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., decent pay, I applied. They hired me the same day. That should have been a red flag. St. Mercy is massive. 9 floors. A psychiatric wing on the 4th floor. Administrative offices, patient rooms, surgical suites. And beneath it all, a research basement that isn't on any public building plan. The job was simple. Walk rounds every hour. Check that the doors are locked. Log any anomalies. Make sure nobody's broken in to steal copper wiring or shoot up in the empty rooms. Simple. My first 2 nights were quiet. Boring even. Just me, my flashlight, and the sound of rain on the windows. The building settled and creaked, but that's normal for a structure this old. I'd walk my route, mark my times in the log, sit in the security office watching static on half the camera feeds. On my 2nd night, I met the previous guard, just briefly. We overlapped for 20 minutes during the shift change. His name was Marcus, 40-something, worked there for 8 months. He gave me 3 rules. Rule 1, never enter the East Wing alone. If you have to go in there, call the main office first and wait for backup. Rule 2, if you hear sounds coming from the 4th floor, ignore them. Old buildings make noise. It doesn't mean anything. Rule 3, always, always leave before dawn. Be in your car by 6:50 a.m. at the latest. I asked him why. He just looked at me, said, "You'll figure it out." That was his last shift. He quit without giving notice, just never came back. And they found his radio 3 days later, sitting on the desk in the security office. He'd left it behind. The battery was full. It still worked. But Marcus was gone. November 3rd was my 3rd night. I arrived at 11 p.m. like always. It had been raining all day. One of those cold October rains that gets into your bones. The building looked different that night. I can't explain how. Same cracked windows, same overgrown parking lot, same rusted sign out front. But there was a weight to it, a presence. I unlocked the front entrance and stepped inside. The smell hit me first. Mold, decay, old medication. Underneath it all, something chemical and sharp. The emergency lights flickered in the main lobby, casting shadows that moved when they shouldn't. I checked the security panel by the door. Everything showed green, all locked, all clear. But the power grid was acting strange. The voltage monitor kept spiking and dropping. fluctuating between normal and brownout levels. That had never happened before. I turned on Marcus's old radio, my radio now, and clipped it to my belt. Started my first round. It was 11:15 p.m. I had no idea what I was walking into. My flashlight died on the second floor. Brand new batteries. I'd put them in that afternoon. Tested it twice. Commercial-grade Duracells, the kind that last for days. Dead in 15 minutes. That should have been my first clue. I smacked it against my palm a few times. Nothing. Just darkness. The emergency lights were spaced too far apart up there, maybe one every 30 feet. So I was walking through long stretches of black. I used my phone light instead. Kept moving. The second floor was patient rooms mostly. Long hallways lined with doors, all of them closed. Most of them locked. My footsteps echoed on the tile. This weird, wet sound, even though the floor was dry. I was halfway down the east corridor when I noticed it. Room 237's door was open. Just slightly, maybe 6 inches. I checked my notes from the previous night. I'd logged that door. Locked. Definitely locked. I approached slowly, pushed it open with my boot. Empty room, stripped bed frame, broken window blinds hanging at an angle. Nothing unusual, except the wheelchair. There was a wheelchair in the middle of the room. Old manual model, vinyl seat cracked and peeling. I'd seen it on my first night, but it had been in the corner, folded up. Now it was in the center of the room, positioned like someone had just stood up and walked away. I walked around it, checked for signs of disturbance. Couldn't find any. I told myself, old building, uneven floor, wheels rolled on their own. But I didn't believe it. I left the room, continued my round, started noticing other things, small things, wrong things. A supply closet door on the 3rd floor, standing, open. I'd locked it myself the night before. I was sure of it. Wet footprints in the hallway outside the administrative offices. Not puddles, prints, like someone had walked through water and tracked it inside. But it hadn't rained inside the building. The sounds were getting to me too. Rain hammering against the windows. The old building settling. Creaks and groans in the walls. Somewhere above me, a rhythmic dripping. Pipe leak, probably. Everything in St. Mercy was falling apart. But underneath those normal sounds, there was something else. A low hum, almost electrical, like the building itself was breathing. I made it back to the security office at 12:30 a.m., logged my observations, poured myself coffee from my thermos, cold already. But I needed the caffeine. That's when I saw the patient log. It was sitting on the desk. Old 3-ring binder, water damaged and yellowed. Label on the front. Patient intake, psychiatric ward, 2009. I'd seen it before. It had been on the shelf behind me. Now it was open on the desk. I picked it up, flipped through the pages. Names, admission dates, room assignments. The last entries were from September 2009, right before the hospital closed. Then I saw it. The very last entry. Bottom of the page, November 2nd, 2024. Yesterday. The handwriting was shaky, almost illegible, but I could make out the words. Patient transfer, room 447, observation continuing. No name, no timestamp, just those words. And underneath, in different ink, fresher ink, someone had written, still here. My hand was shaking as I set the binder down. I turned to the security monitors. Most of them showed static or blank screens, cameras that had stopped working years ago. But 3 were still functional. Lobby, 3rd floor main corridor, and 4th floor junction. I cycled through the feeds. Lobby, empty. 3rd floor, empty. 4th floor, static. Not regular static. It was pulsing, rhythmic. And in the center of the screen, there was a timestamp burned into the image. 9:47 p.m. That didn't make sense. It was almost 1 in the morning. I checked the recording log. Every night for the past 3 weeks, the 4th floor camera had glitched at exactly 9:47 p.m. Exactly the same time. I'd never noticed before. The radio on my belt crackled. Just interference at first. White noise. Then a voice. Distant. Distorted. It said, "Still here." I grabbed the radio. "Hello? This is security. Identify yourself." Nothing. Just rain. Just static. Just my breathing. I needed to do another round. Checked the 4th floor. Protocol said I should investigate any potential intruder. But Marcus's rules echoed in my head. Ignore sounds from the 4th floor. It doesn't mean anything. I stayed in the security office, watched the monitors, waited. At 1:47 a.m., I finally worked up the nerve to move. I had to check the East Wing. The East Wing door was supposed to be chained. I'd checked it on my first night. Heavy chains wrapped through the handles, padlock the size of my fist. The whole setup looked like it had been there for years. Rust on the links, dust in the crevices. Marcus's rule: never enter the East Wing alone. The chains were on the floor, not unlocked, not cut with bolt cutters, cut from the inside. The metal edges were bright, freshly sheared, and the chains were arranged carefully, almost deliberately, like someone had laid them down instead of letting them drop. The door stood open. Just a crack. I should have called someone, should have followed protocol. But I was alone in an abandoned hospital at 2 in the morning, and calling the main office would take 20 minutes for anyone to arrive. 20 minutes for whatever was in there to disappear. I needed to know. I pulled the door open. The hinges screamed. The temperature dropped immediately. I could see my breath. The East Wing was at least 15 degrees colder than the rest of the building. My phone light cut through the darkness. The hallway stretched ahead. Patient rooms on both sides. Ceiling tiles hanging down. Water damage everywhere. This section had been hit worse by time. Nature was reclaiming it. But that wasn't what caught my attention. There was graffiti on the walls. Old graffiti. Faded. The kind left by teenagers who broke in years ago. Crude drawings, profanity, declarations of love in spray paint. But over top of the old graffiti, new markings. Fresh. Not spray paint. These were scratched into the wall. Deep gouges. Like someone had used their fingernails. The same phrase, repeated over and over. Study, 47. Study, 47. Study, 47. Dozens of times, covering 20 feet of wall. I moved deeper into the East Wing. My footsteps echoed differently here, muffled, swallowed by the decay. In one of the rooms, I found a blanket. It was folded. Clean. No dust. Everything else in the room was filthy. Mold on the walls, debris on the floor, broken window letting in rain. But this blanket looked like it had been placed there yesterday. I touched it. Still warm. That's when I saw the door at the end of the hall. Different from the others. Metal. Reinforced. Stenciled letters across the front. Research Lab B. Authorized personnel only. The door was ajar. Inside was an office. File cabinets lining the walls. Desk in the corner. Papers scattered everywhere. On the floor, the desk, pinned to the walls. Someone had been through here recently. The papers weren't yellowed like they should be. Some were in stacks. The label read, Study 47C, Consciousness Retention Post-Mortem. I opened it. The first page was a project summary. Medical jargon I barely understood, but certain phrases jumped out. Terminal patient volunteers. Experimental neurological preservation. Consciousness bridging protocol. Unexpected cognitive persistence. Study termination, September 15, 2009. I flipped through more pages. Patient consent forms, medical histories, brain scans, treatment, logs. Then I found the list. 35 names. Each one had a photo attached, patient ID numbers, admission dates, all from 2008-2009, all marked with the same red stamp, deceased. Every single one of them had died here, in this hospital. The dates ranged from January 2009 to September 2009. The last entry was dated September 14th, 2009, one day before the hospital closed. Patient name, Margaret Chen. Age, 72. Room 447. Cause of death, cardiac arrest during treatment. Underneath, in handwritten notes, subject experienced full consciousness retention post-clinical death. Awareness confirmed via EEG monitoring. Subject remained responsive for 6 hours, 13 minutes before cognitive dissolution, requesting immediate study expansion. Results unprecedented. I don't know how long I stood there, reading. Could have been 5 minutes. Could have been 30. All I know is that at some point, I became aware of a sound. Rhythmic, regular, like footsteps. Tap, tap, tap. Coming from above me, 4th floor. Someone was walking patrol up there, back and forth. The same route, over and over. I grabbed the patient file, shoved it under my jacket. I needed to get back to the security office, check the cameras, see if I could. The tapping stopped. Then the radio on my belt crackled. That voice again. Clearer this time. Female, elderly. She said, "Room 447, please. We're still here." I ran. Didn't look back. Didn't check the rooms. Just ran through the east wing, through the door, down the corridor to the security office. I burst through the door, slammed it behind me. My heart was hammering so hard I thought I'd pass out. I turned to the monitors. The 4th floor camera had come back online. And there, standing in the junction where the corridors met, was a figure. Too dark to see clearly. Just a silhouette. Standing completely still. Facing the camera. Facing me. I watched for 30 seconds. It didn't move. Then, slowly, it raised one hand and pointed down. Pointed at me. The screen went to static. I checked the time. 2:34 a.m. I had 4.5 hours until dawn, and I was beginning to understand that whatever happened in this hospital, whatever study 47C was, it wasn't over. It had never been over. They were still here, all 35 of them. And now, they knew I could see them. I should have left then, called the police, called the company, hell, called anyone. Instead, I did what every idiot in a horror story does. I investigated. The patient files were spread across the security desk. 35 faces staring up at me. 35 people who died in this building. All of them part of Study 47C. But I needed more. I needed to understand what I was dealing with. That's when I remembered. Marcus's USB drive. I'd found it in the desk drawer on my first night. Unlabeled flash drive, just sitting there with the pens and old key cards. I'd assumed it was empty. Never bothered to check. I plugged it into the security computer. 3 folders, labeled by date. October 15th through November 1st. Marcus's last 2 weeks. I opened the first one. Security footage. Hours of it. But not from the live feeds. These were recordings. Specific timestamps. Like Marcus had been documenting something. I started with October 15th, 9:45 p.m. The 4th floor camera. Normal at first. Empty corridor. Emergency lights casting long shadows. Then, at exactly 9:47 p.m., the screen erupted in static. Pulsing. That same rhythmic pattern I'd seen tonight. It lasted for 30 seconds. When the image cleared, nothing had changed. Empty corridor, same shadows. But there was something different about the light, the quality of it. Like the air had shifted. I fast-forwarded, found the next marked timestamp, 10:23 p.m., East Wing entrance camera. The chain door sat in frame, completely still. Then, at exactly 10:23, the chains went slack. They didn't break, didn't get cut. They just released. Like invisible hands had unlocked them. The door swung open, smooth and deliberate. The camera showed nothing entering or leaving, just an empty doorway. I checked the next timestamp. 11:15 p.m., 4th floor again, the junction where the corridors met. At exactly 11:15 p.m., a shadow moved across the frame. Not a person. A shadow, moving independently of any light source. It crossed from left to right, paused in the center, directly in front of the camera, then continued on. The footage quality degraded as it passed, like its presence was interfering with the electronics. Then came 2:34 a.m. Every camera in the building glitched simultaneously. Not static this time. The image inverted, negative colors, everything reversed. Lasted exactly 13 seconds. When the cameras came back online, they showed the same empty corridors, same abandoned rooms. But Marcus had zoomed in on one particular feed. 2nd floor, room 237. The wheelchair was in a different position. I checked the next night's footage, October 16th. Same timestamps, same events, same sequence. 9:47 p.m., 4th floor static. 10:23 p.m., east wing door opens. 11:15 p.m., shadow crosses 4th floor. 2:34 a.m., all cameras invert, exact same pattern. I skipped ahead. October 20th, October 25th, October 30th, every single night. For 2 weeks, the same schedule. I found a text file in the last folder. Marcus's notes. The writing was frantic, disjointed, like he'd been typing fast, not caring about grammar or spelling. Day 12, they're following a schedule. Their schedule. From before. Not random. Everything happens at exact times. Same times every night. Like they're still going through their routines. Their last routines. 9:47. Don't know what this is. Some kind of reset? The whole building changes. Can feel it. 10:23. They wake up. Start moving. Going to their rooms, their stations. Following the paths they walked when they were alive. 11:15. 4th floor patrol. Always the same one. Think it's a nurse. Can't see clearly, but movement pattern matches medical staff rounds. 2:34. This is when it happens. When they die. All of them. You can feel it. The whole building feels it. Everything resets, and the loop starts over. They don't know they're repeating. They don't remember. Except sometimes they do. Sometimes one of them will stop. Look around, like they're confused about where they are. Those moments don't last long. Maybe a few seconds. Then they go back to the routine. But they're becoming more aware. Tonight, one of them looked directly at the camera. Made eye contact. Knew I was watching. I can't do this anymore. Whatever they did to these people, whatever Study 47 was, it's still active, still running. And I think they're getting stronger. The last entry was dated November 1st, the night Marcus quit. Heard my name tonight. My actual name. Nobody knows my name here. I never told anyone. They know I'm watching. I'm done. Whoever takes this job next, run. Don't stay until 2:34. Don't try to help them. You can't. Some things aren't meant to be saved. I checked the computer clock. 10:15 p.m. 8 minutes. 8 minutes until 10:23. Until the east wing door opened. Until they woke up and started their rounds. I had a choice to make. I could leave, get in my car, drive away, quit like Marcus did, pretend none of this was real. Or I could document it, prove it, get footage that actually showed what was happening. My EMT training kicked in, that old instinct. When everyone else runs from danger, you run toward it, because someone might need help. These people needed help, even if they'd been dead for 15 years. I grabbed my phone, checked the battery, 73%. Good enough. I had one of those phone tripods in my bag. Cheap thing I'd bought for video calls. I set it up in the corridor outside the east wing door, aimed directly at the entrance. started recording. Then I positioned myself 10 feet back, where I could see both the phone screen and the door with my own eyes. 10:21 p.m., 2 minutes. The temperature was dropping. I could see my breath now, even though I was inside. The emergency lights flickered. That electrical hum grew louder, the one that sounded like breathing. 10:22 p.m., 1 minute. I wanted to run. Every survival instinct I had was screaming at me to get out. This was wrong. This was dangerous. This was 10:23 p.m. The door swung open. I watched it through my phone screen. The chains going slack, the door moving on its own, smooth and deliberate. But that's not what I saw with my own eyes. With my own eyes, I saw them. They came through the doorway like mist, translucent, flickering. Not quite solid, not quite smoke. People, dressed in hospital gowns, some in scrubs, one in a lab coat. They were walking, actually walking, not floating, not gliding, walking with purpose, with routine, following paths they'd memorized years ago. I counted 12 of them in that first group. They didn't acknowledge me, didn't look at me, just walked past, heading deeper into the hospital. Their footsteps made no sound. They cast no shadows, but I could see them, clear as day. Every detail. An elderly man in a faded blue gown, hospital bracelet still on his wrist. ID number visible, 4.0708. A younger woman in green scrubs, name tag pinned to her chest. Dr. Sarah Kim, neurology. A middle-aged man pushing an empty wheelchair, methodical, like he'd done it 1,000 times. I checked my phone screen. The video showed the empty corridor, the open door, nothing else. The camera couldn't see them, but I could. More figures emerged from the east wing. I stopped counting after 20. They flowed through the building like water, following channels worn into stone, each one walking their own route, their own routine. A nurse checking doors that no longer had rooms behind them. A patient shuffling to a cafeteria that had been stripped bare years ago. An orderly mopping a floor that was already thick with dust and decay. Then one of them stopped. Just stopped. Mid-stride, 10 feet in front of me. It was a woman. Late 60s maybe. Hospital gown, thin gray hair. She stood there, completely still, like a video that had paused. Then, slowly, she turned her head. Looked directly at me. Her eyes were open, aware. Not the blank, routine following stare of the others. She saw me. Actually, saw me. Her mouth moved. No sound came out, but I could read her lips. "Help us!" The rain outside intensified, hammering against the windows. The lights flickered violently. My radio crackled. That voice came through. Multiple voices, actually, overlapping, speaking in unison. Study 47. Still running. Can't leave. Can't leave. Can't. When I looked back, the woman was gone. All of them were gone. The corridor was empty again. Just me and the shadows, and the sound of rain. I grabbed my phone, stopped the recording. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I pulled up the patient files, compared the photos to what I'd just seen. The elderly man in the blue gown, patient 44708, Robert Martinez, age 71. Cause of death, respiratory failure. The woman in scrubs, Dr. Sarah Kim, age 34. Staff member, not a patient. According to the files, she'd been supervising the study. Last seen September 14th, 2009. Listed as missing in the incident. Reports. She hadn't left the hospital. She'd become part of the experiment. And the woman who'd looked at me, who'd mouthed, "Help us." Patient 44712. Margaret Chen. The last person to die before they closed the building. I checked the time. 10:47 p.m. According to Marcus's notes, the next event was 11:15, the 4th floor patrol. Then 2:34 a.m., when they all died, when the loop reset. I had 3 hours and 47 minutes. If I was going to help them, if I could help them, I needed to understand what was keeping them here. Marcus's notes said something about equipment still running, the study still being active. I looked at the patient files again, scanned through the technical notes. There, buried in the medical jargon. Consciousness retention achieved through continuous neural monitoring. Subjects require active connection to maintain coherence. Disconnection will result in immediate cognitive dissolution. They weren't ghosts. They were still connected to the equipment, still being monitored, still trapped in the last moments of their lives because something in this building was keeping them tethered. Something that was still running after 15 years. I needed to find it, and according to the files, the main laboratory was on the 4th floor. Room 447, the same room number that kept appearing in the notes, the same room Margaret had died in. I grabbed my flashlight, the one with dead batteries, smacked it hard against the desk. It flickered, came back to life. Good enough. I started toward the stairs, toward the 4th floor, toward whatever was keeping 35 people trapped in an endless loop of dying. My EMT training had taught me one thing above everything else. You don't leave people behind, even if they're already dead. The 4th floor was different. I felt it the moment I stepped through the stairwell door. The air was heavier, thicker, like trying to breathe through wet cotton. The temperature had dropped another 10 degrees. My breath came out in thick clouds. Frost was forming on the walls, actual frost, creeping along the tile like living veins. This floor hadn't decayed like the others. It had been preserved, frozen in time. The 4th floor had been the psychiatric ward, long-term care. According to the hospital directory, it had 32 rooms, 2 common areas, and a secure observation suite. But according to the Study 47C files, it had been something else entirely. A containment area. I walked slowly down the main corridor. My flashlight beam cut through the darkness, catching details that shouldn't exist in an abandoned building. Equipment, still in the rooms. Not old equipment, not rusted or decayed. Maintained equipment. I stopped at room 441. The door was open. Inside, a hospital bed. IV stands, monitoring machines, all of them plugged in, all of them showing active power indicators. I checked the monitor. The screen was on, displaying a flat green line. But in the corner, a timestamp, 11:03 p.m., current time. The equipment was still running. After 15 years, in an abandoned building with no main power, the equipment was still running. I moved to the next room. Same setup. Bed, monitors, IV stands, all active. Room 443. Same thing. Room 445. Same. Every room had been maintained. Every piece of equipment was operational. Like someone had been coming here, keeping everything running, making sure the study never ended. At the end of the corridor, I found it. Room 447. The door was different from the others. Reinforced steel. A magnetic lock that was still engaged, red light glowing. Biohazard warnings plastered across the surface. Caution. Active study in progress. Authorized personnel only. Neurological monitoring area. Do not disturb. All dated September 2009. I tried the handle. Locked. But there was a keypad beside the door. Old model. 4-digit code. I thought about the numbers in the files. Patient codes. Dates. Room numbers. Then I remembered. 2:34 a.m. when they died. When the loop reset. The lock disengaged. The room beyond was impossibly clean. Not just maintained. Clean. Like someone had scrubbed it yesterday. White tile floors. White walls. Clinical lighting. Still on. Still bright. No decay. No mold. No water damage. This room had been sealed. Protected. Kept exactly as it was the day the hospital closed. In the center, a hospital bed. Restraints still attached. Empty. Around the bed, equipment. So much equipment. EEG machines, neural monitoring stations, IV pumps, a ventilator. All of them connected to a central terminal, a computer setup that looked far too advanced for 2009. And all of it was running. Monitors displayed data, graphs, waveforms, not flat lines, active readings, brain activity, vital signs, 35 different readouts. I approached the main terminal. The screen showed a program interface I'd never seen before. Medical monitoring software, but customized, modified. At the top of the screen, Study 47C, Consciousness Retention Protocol. Status, active. Subjects monitored, 35. Loop duration, 15 years, 2 months, 3 days. Next reset, 2:34:17 a.m. Below that, a list of names. All 35 patients from the files. Each one had a status indicator, coherent, in green letters. They were all coherent, all aware, all still experiencing consciousness, all still trapped. I clicked through the interface, found the study logs, hundreds of entries. I scrolled to the most recent. November 3rd, 2024, 8 p.m. Loop iteration 5.532 initiated. All subjects responsive. Consciousness patterns stable. No degradation detected. Note, subject 4-7-12, Chen M, showing increased awareness. Third occurrence this week, recommending additional observation. Margaret. She was becoming more aware. That's why she'd looked at me. Why she could ask for help. The loop was breaking down. I kept reading. Found entries going back weeks, months, all automated. The system was logging everything, running on its own, maintaining the study without any human intervention. Then I found an entry from September 15th, 2009. Critical alert. Consciousness retention threshold exceeded. Subjects experiencing cognitive loops, unable to progress beyond point of death. Ethical concerns raised by Dr. Harrison and Dr. Kim. Decision. Study continuation approved by Directorate. Medical staff objections overruled. Dr. Harrison's final statement. These people trusted us. We told them this would ease their passing. Instead, we've trapped them in their worst moment. This isn't science. It's torture. I will not be complicit. Status update. Dr. Harrison failed to report for shift. Security has been notified. Status update. Dr. Kim remains in study area, attempting to manually shut down protocol. Access denied. Final entry. Facility evacuation initiated. Dr. Kim exposure confirmed. Subject integration into study recorded. Total subject count, 35. Remote monitoring protocol. Engaged automatic maintenance. Enabled study. Status, indefinite hold. May God forgive us. Dr. Kim, the woman in scrubs I'd seen walking the halls. She'd tried to shut it down, tried to free them. And the system had absorbed her, made her part of the experiment. A sound behind me. I spun around. She was standing in the doorway. Margaret Chen. Patient 4712. More solid now, more present than before. I could see her clearly. The lines on her face, the hospital bracelet on her wrist, the exhaustion in her eyes. Eyes that had been dying for 15 years. She spoke. Her voice was hollow, layered, like multiple recordings of the same person speaking slightly out of sync. You can see me? Yes, I said. My voice was shaking. I can see you. She tilted her head, studied me, like she was trying to remember something. You're not staff, not doctors, not. Her form flickered, lost coherence for a second, then stabilized. You're alive. Actually alive. My name is Alex, I said. I'm security. I'm here because we're trapped, she interrupted. Her voice grew stronger, more focused. We've been trapped. I can feel it now. The loop. We die and wake up and die and wake up and... She looked down at her hands. They were trembling. How long? She whispered. I didn't want to tell her. How long? she repeated, louder now, desperate. 15 years, I said quietly. Her legs gave out. She didn't fall, just sort of collapsed into herself. Knelt on the floor. 15, she repeated. 15 years. Every night. Dying. Every night. I can remember sometimes, she continued. Her voice was breaking. In the moments before 2:34, I remember asking for help. I remember doctors promising it wouldn't hurt. I remember... She looked up at me. I remember my daughter. She was 37. Is she still... She'd be 52 now, I said gently. Margaret's face crumpled. Movement in the hallway. More figures appeared, emerging from the shadows, walking through the walls, materializing from nothing. All 35 of them. The elderly man in the blue gown, the patient with the wheelchair, Dr. Kim in her scrubs. All of them surrounding me. Not threatening, not aggressive, just desperate. Dr. Kim stepped forward. She looked younger than the others. She'd been 34 when she died. You can see us, she said. Her voice was clearer than the others. Professional, clinical. That means the threshold is breaking. We're becoming more coherent, more aware. What do you need? I asked. Margaret stood slowly, looked at the equipment, the monitors, the screens showing their brain patterns still active. We need to die, she said simply. Really die. Not this. Not this endless repetition. We need it to stop. The equipment in the basement, Dr. Kim said. The main server. It's maintaining the neural link, keeping us coherent, keeping us trapped. You have until 2:34, Margaret added. That's when the loop resets. That's when we forget we asked you. When we go back to just following our routines, not knowing we're dead, not knowing we're stuck. She looked at me with eyes that had witnessed 15 years of endless dying. We're not ghosts, she said quietly. We're still dying. Over and over. Every night at 2:34 a.m. we flatline. Every night at 8 p.m. we wake up and start over. We're trapped in the 6 hours and 34 minutes of our last day. Forever. One of the other patients spoke. An old man. His voice was weak. Please, end it. Free us. Let us finally rest. I checked my phone. 11:47 p.m. 2 hours and 47 minutes until 2:34 a.m. 2 hours and 47 minutes until the loop reset and they forgot everything. 2 hours and 47 minutes to find the server room in the basement and shut down a 15-year-old experiment that should never have existed. I looked at the 35 faces surrounding me. 35 people who had trusted doctors to ease their passing, who had volunteered for what they thought was experimental therapy, who had been betrayed, trapped, kept in an endless cycle of death for 15 years. My EMT oath echoed in my head. First, do no harm. But what was the greater harm? Keeping them trapped in this loop, or ending their consciousness permanently? I'll help you, I said. Margaret's face showed something I hadn't seen before. Relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. The basement, Dr. Kim said quickly. Sub-level 2, the main laboratory. The server is there. You need to... The monitoring equipment erupted in alerts. Every screen showed the same message. Unauthorized access detected. Security protocol initiated. Containment breach. Immediate response required. Dr. Kim's eyes widened. Remote monitoring, she said. Someone's been watching. They know you're here. Who? I demanded. The people who funded this. The ones who wanted the study to continue. They've been maintaining it remotely for 15 years. A new message appeared on the screen. Security team dispatched. ETA 18 minutes. I looked at the clock. 11:51 p.m. 18 minutes until armed security arrived. 2 hours and 43 minutes until the loop reset. Can you help me? I asked Margaret and Dr. Kim. Can you interact with things? Physical objects? Dr. Kim nodded slowly. Sometimes. When we're focused, when we're aware. It takes effort, but yes, we can. Then we're doing this now, I said. All of us. We have 18 minutes to get to that server room and shut this down. The shutdown requires 3 simultaneous actions, Dr. Kim said rapidly. I remember from the protocols. Main breaker panel on sub-level 1, coolant system on this floor, and the primary server in the basement. They have to be triggered at the same time, or the system will automatically restart. We'll split up, I said. You tell me where to go, what to do. We coordinate the shutdown. Margaret looked at the others, at the 35 faces that had been trapped for so long. We're ready, she said. We've been ready for 15 years. The screens flickered. The countdown continued. ETA, 17 minutes. I took a breath. Let's free you, I said. And we ran. Toward the basement. Toward the server. Toward the end of a nightmare that had lasted 15 years.